Nayak the Hero is a 1966 Indian Bengali film that's written and directed by Satyajit Ray. So this is a film that won this week's Patron poll, and it's a poll that consisted of strictly Indian films because Indian cinema is unfortunately a huge blind spot of mine. Really the only true Indian film that I've seen is a film called The Bandit Queen. And I actually have my partner Jin to thank for that because she knew about that film way before I even knew it existed, and I really love the film. But with that being said, it was no surprise to me that Satyajit Ray won the Patron poll because, at least here in America, he's more than likely the most popular Indian filmmaker. But I wanted to put one of his films on the poll that, wasn't so insanely popular. I wanted to put one of his more underknown films, especially in comparison to some of his other films like the Apu trilogy that, everybody's heard of and everybody just absolutely adores. Not that I'm never going to watch it. I plan to watch that sometime this year. So it was pretty much impossible for me not to go into this film with high expectations because Satyajit Ray is somebody to be not only known as, one of the masters of Indian cinema, but just one of the masters of filmmaking in general. And I gotta say, even though I went into this film with huge expectations, after watching the film, it still completely shattered them and just absolutely blew my mind. In every aspect of filmmaking, it's absolutely timeless, not only with its aesthetic value, but also just in terms of theme. It contains incredibly relevant themes today, not only in regards to its themes that explore the psychological element of the film industry, but also its social themes that explore the oppression of women, and also the kind of imbalance in gender roles of men and women in the film industry as well. But first, we have to talk about the aesthetic value to this film. It's shot to perfection. From start to finish, this film is framed and directed perfectly. I mean, in terms of its aesthetic, it's flawless. This is one of those films where you can absolutely tell how much thought and effort was poured into every scene, how much intention was behind every frame, the way that the camera moves throughout the film, the way that lighting is used throughout the film, the way some sequences are edited. The aesthetic craft is a huge part to the entire experience of this film. And what's also so beautiful about it is that there's nothing flashy about it either. In terms of its aesthetics, it's actually pretty damn subtle. It's still incredibly powerful and still highly remarkable. And that pretty much applies to all the other aspects of this film. This is an incredibly simple, yet subtle and compelling piece of filmmaking. In terms of its narrative, it's incredibly simple. Basically, the entire premise of this film is us following the main character on a train ride. The vast majority of this film's screen time, I'm talking 98% of it, takes place on a moving train. And the main character is played by a legendary Indian actor, Uttam Kumar, and in this film, he plays a legendary actor. Oh, I won't say legendary, but he plays a highly popular actor in this film. And that just adds another huge layer of authenticity to this film. And, considering how deep this film explores this character, because this is a pretty deep character study, I highly respect him so much for taking on this role, because this film to me really does dive pretty deep into the psyche of a popular actor that has repressed so many different anxieties and fears in regards to their past and also the anxieties of their future. And I'm pretty damn sure that it was not an easy task for Uttam Kumar to embody a role that more than likely reflects a lot of his own anxieties and fears. And not only was it probably really difficult to embody this character throughout the entire filmmaking process, but I'm sure it was even more difficult to actually watch the film itself once everything was said and done. But it's on this train ride that we meet a lot of different characters. I was surprised at how many different characters are included in this film, yet all of them seem not only relevant to the film's narrative, but also relevant to the themes that Satyajit Ray is trying to express. There's a husband and wife character that we follow from time to time throughout this film, and I really love their characters as well, because I feel like the purpose of them being there expressed really important themes in regards to the oppression of women in society, and, also just the imbalance of men and women in general, because even though during this time, Indian women were technically allowed to flourish in the film industry and also in advertising and modeling and what have you, the husband in a lot of ways would restrict it and keep them down. And even if they were offered careers in the marketing industry or the filmmaking industry, they still had little to no respect in these industries, and were pretty much only used as eye candy and objects. But really, the central character dynamic that this film explores is between Uttam Kumar and Sharmila Tagore. And Sharmila Tagore, by the way, absolutely stunning actress. Not only do I think she's gorgeous, but she is incredibly talented. And her character is essentially an outsider. She's somebody that, doesn't really care about filmmaking or films in general. She's a writer for a women's magazine, and it's only through coincidence that her and the actor character cross paths. But it's this kind of bracketed outsider perspective that compels Kumar's character. Their dynamic becomes so compelling because he comes to believe that she is truly a genuine person that actually just wants to know more about him. And it's because of her ability to ask him a lot of these fair, raw, and honest questions about his life that he's able to kind of get therapy out of her character. It's like their dynamic becomes a bit therapeutic for each other. I mean, it's mostly therapeutic for his character, but I feel like both of them pretty much learn something from their experience. And it's also through a few dream sequences that we get with him on the train that this film was able to explore his psychological state of mind. And it's, my God, it's so stunning. I was genuinely surprised at how surreal and effective it was. Not only, again, from an aesthetic standpoint, because aesthetically, it is beautiful. I mean, not only within its style, but just the camera work and the framing and the sound design and the lighting. I mean, the dream sequences are just mwah. I mean, it's the creme de la creme cinema. The first dream sequence that we get in this film that involves him dancing around in mountains of cash, but eventually kind of turning dark, that dream sequence is, in a way, kind of foreshadowing the type of fears and anxieties that he has that's explored later in the film. And the other dream sequence that we get in this film involves a lead actress that he casted in a film recently. And I also love that dream sequence to death, not only because it's nightmarish as hell and just crafted beautifully, but narratively, it also expresses what happened to the main character in regards to a scandal that's established at the beginning of the film. And I also feel like in a lot of different ways, this film is a bit of the antithesis of traditional Indian movies that were coming out at the time that were really popular. Again, I could be wrong because I'm pretty damn ignorant when it comes to Indian films, but through the information that is given in this film, it seems like this film, in a lot of different ways, is turning the traditional tropes over on its head. Most notably regarding male actors that play leading roles in films. Because in this film, it expresses that traditionally, at that time, every movie that had a male lead in it captured them in this unrealistic, heroic role. They're basically portrayed as flawless, and if there is a positive female figure in the film, they're basically there just to support the male character and to support their success. But in this film, it's pretty much the opposite. You have a male character here that has repressed so much about himself because of the fact that once you become famous, you have this image to uphold, and that image does not reflect who they are on the inside, and they feel like any slip up could just cause the public opinion of them to just plummet, and that could also affect the box office results. And it's why the main character feels incredibly fearful and alone, and just every second just feels like his reputation is on the line and has something to prove. And it's actually because of the female co-star in this film that the male character is able to kind of drop the facade and actually talk to a human being. And it's through this connection that he's able to experience something cathartic, and from there on can hopefully live a better life with more comfortability in his own skin. And the ending to this film, in regards to the final interaction that we get between the male and female lead, is superb. I mean, it's compelling, it's powerful, it's romantic. I mean, it is so effective on every single level. I just loved it so much. I think it's excellent writing, excellent acting, brilliant directing. Really that applies to this entire film. This entire film, aesthetically, thematically, acting-wise, everything across the board is absolute perfection. So I'm going to give Nayak the Hero a 10 out of 10. I am so excited to explore more of Satyajit Ray's filmography and in general just watch more Indian cinema. And again, like, obviously I recommend this film. It's actually on the Criterion channel and I believe it's also free on YouTube. So you have every avenue to watch this film and I implore you to check it out. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. But anyway, that's all I got to say about Nayak the Hero. If you really enjoyed what I had to say about the film, just give it a thumbs up and share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content.